Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Andrew Knowles, and thanks so much for joining us. Topping news tonight. The country recording its latest homicide after a man was killed early this morning. Residents of the Lazaretto Road community awoke to the sounds of gunshots, only to discover a short while later the victim lying dead in bushes.
Shortly before 8 a.m., residents in this area, just east of Lazaretto Road off Carmichael Road, heard gunshots being fired. A few minutes later, they made a check of the area, a bushy area just behind us, where the sounds came from, and discovered the body of an adult male.
The area was cordoned off as officers processed the scene, looking for any clues that could assist in their investigations. Distraught family members on the scene wept openly as their worst fears were confirmed and the victim's body was carried away. And with very little information to go on, Superintendent Knowles made this a plea to appeal to members of the community, highlighting the recent involvement of Long Islanders in solving that island's recent double murder.
Just a few days ago, we had an incident on Long Island, and we saw the community become involved in searching for those women who were missing. And we want to say thank you to the community, especially Salt Pond, Long Island, and the second homeowners who mounted a search and assisted the police greatly on that island. That is what we're looking for from the community. We get lots of assistance, but we want that partnership to continue. And so we're appealing to the people of the Lazaretto community to please, any information that you have that can assist us in solving this matter this morning, we wish to hear from you.
Drug Enforcement Unit officers seized 12 pounds of dangerous drugs from an elderly female foreign national yesterday. Acting on information, DEU officers at Lynden Pindling International Airport conducted a secondary search of a duffel bag belonging to a 73-year-old Spanish woman. The woman had just arrived to Nassau from Panama. Officers would discover a black package containing 12 pounds of cocaine, reportedly valued at $85,000. The woman was subsequently arrested and taken into custody. She is expected to be formally arraigned in the magistrate's court sometime this week. Well, the bodies of Hurricane Dorian victims on Abaco will be laid to rest this month. Managing Director of the Bahamas Disaster and Reconstruction Authority, Kay Forbes-Smith, made the announcement during a press conference this afternoon by the DRA to provide a 6-month update on rebuilding efforts post-Dorian on Abaco and Grand Bahama. She revealed that a team from the coroner's office will travel to Abaco tomorrow, along with members of the Bahamas United Funeral Homes and Morticians Association and the Bahamas Christian Council to begin preparations for the burials.
The group has been very strategic with its preparation. On Tuesday, the DRA's technical team, led by its chairman, Wendell Grant, a civil and structural engineer, will be on Abaco to determine the exact location for the burial on the site that has been identified. During this process, the Christian Council and the Morticians Association will meet with family members of people presumed deceased to discuss any special considerations and concerns they may be having regarding the burial.
The burials come 6 months after Hurricane Dorian unleashed its fury on Abaco and Grand Bahama. Forbes-Smith says the DRA will not exploit the memories of the deceased. She also set the record straight on reports of mass burials on the island.
Discussion circulating of a mass burial is not true, it is false, and no one should exploit this issue. The remains of the unknown will be placed in individual graves. Out of respect for families, we do not wish to say anything further on this matter.
Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands confirmed back in January that pathologists completed autopsies on all bodies stored in a refrigerated trailer near the clinic in Marsh Harbor. According to the Ministry of Health, 51 storm victims were being kept in that trailer. A date is expected to be announced in short order for a national service for the families. Well, also from that press conference, the managing director providing a bit more detail into the pledges government received for Hurricane Dorian during a special pledge conference organized by the UNDP back in January. Although initial assessments indicated $1.5 billion in recovery financing and in-kind services were pledged, Forbes-Smith says after further assessment of the full scope of pledges, the revised amount pledged was very close to $1.8 billion. She gave this breakdown.
Grants, $41 million. Public-private partnerships, $1.3 billion. Technical assistance, $51 million. Other forms of assistance, $400 million. Cash and deposits, $364,000. Now, these pledges line up this way according to our 7 priorities. The economy, $102 million. Education, $6 million. The environment, $1 million. Health, $670 million. Housing, $51 million. Infrastructure, $155 million. $785 million is not allocated specifically. Cash and deposits, $364,000. And when I leave here today, tomorrow these numbers may change because we're getting in donations every day.
The lion's share of the pledges was a $975 million loan offer from the P3 Group, Inc., a U.S. company. The money would be repaid with interest if accepted. However, the realization that some of the pledges were in the form of loans has raised concern from the public.
It is up to the authority and the government to determine which pledges are best for the Bahamas and the Bahamian people and this rebuilding effort. Discussions are ongoing with various local and international groups that pledged. As the groups stated openly at the conference, some of the amounts they allocated include work already done to assist the residents of Grand Bahama and Abaco.
We will have more from today's press conference in tomorrow's newscast. Meantime, the implementation of policy to affect climate change is critically important. That according to Rihanna Haynes, who is an international climate law and governance specialist. In fact, she maintains it's the most effective way to address the impacts of climate change on countries like the Bahamas and other small island developing states.
A lot of what needs to be done in order to increase resilience, for example, is structural. And so it's really founded and based in having the proper legislative arrangements in place, having the proper policies in place in order to ensure that the impact is as wide as possible. Individual action can only go so far if you're operating in an environment that's, not facilitative.
Haynes works for German-based think tank Climate Analytics. The work of the organization primarily centers around supporting least developed countries in climate change negotiations.
It's extremely important work because we find that, as the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister mentioned earlier, small island developing states are disproportionately affected by the impacts of climate change, but we may not have the resources to be taken fully seriously on the global stage when it comes to representing our interests. So my organization, the work that we do involves increasing the capacity of small, highly vulnerable, very poor countries to be able to participate on a more equal footing with larger, major emitting developed country counterparts.
And although it's the role of government to set policy, Haynes says the private sector also plays a critical role in ensuring that the policies are actually implemented.
Because the private sector also has a role in implementing the policies that the government rolls out. I mean, the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister spoke about, the critical underinsurance or lack of insurance and losses incurred by the actual private sector as a result of Hurricane Dorian last year. And I mean, that's just one clear example of the role that the private sector has to play. Of course, when it comes to corporate social responsibility, the private sector has a role there as well in terms of filling in the gaps where government, due to lack of resources, may not be able to fully reach within communities in terms of providing resources for community groups and organizations to be able to do some work as well as it relates to implementing climate change policy.
Shifting to other news, the leader of the opposition says he will not stop until the details of the Grand Lucayan sale are made public, as there are too many unclear details. Giorgio Bain reports.
Opposition leader Philip Brave Davis is calling for the Minister administration to clarify details surrounding the sale of the Grand Lucayan Resort.
It is a false premise. They talk about insurance claim. Now, first of all, we need to let us know what the property was insured for and what those proceeds are. That's not part of the purchase price.
During his party's press conference earlier this week, Davis called for the government to make public the heads of agreement signed with Bahamas Port Investments for the sale of the Grand Lucayan Resort. Davis said, as a government that campaigned on the promise of transparency, laying the documents on the table should not be that difficult.
Because of our concerns about the ability and competence of this government to negotiate in the best interest of the Bahamian people, which started off with the decision first to buy the hotel. We think it is necessary for all of the details to be laid on the table, recalling that it is this government who speaks to their being accountable and transparent.
Davis is now questioning what that $50 million price tag really includes.
We need to understand how that figure aligns with the $250 million that is supposed to be the overall investment by this company in developing that property and the port, because $250 million seemed to be a drop in the bucket to develop a port, to purchase the asset of the hotel, and to redevelop the properties to have it reopen in a time frame that they say that they want it open.
Reporting for our News, I'm Giorgio Bain.
All right, thanks a lot, Giorgio. When we come back, NHI doctors tout the success of the program. Plus, mapping the future of Parkinson's disease. Those stories and more coming up.
Hey, but Dubs.
Hey.
Speaking of ideas, though.
Ah!
Yeah, solid idea, but.
Here we go again.
Joking, boy.
Murder? That on their passport, so you might even murder?
Hey, what did you start? Just gotta be a blessing, boy, because ain't nobody that stupid to come here to lose their money. Losing money.
Gina T? On your right nipple, Gina? What is this?
Don't be what to say, store.
Hey, Chrissy brothers, we gotta sing to you. Happy birthday from the Chrissy crew. We can buy one down now, and all of us can share it.
I like him. He's funny.
You think that funny? Bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky. It's a birthday, bum chicky.
Next tonight, doctors enrolled as primary health care providers in the National Health Insurance are touting its success, saying it has resulted in a sharp increase in their businesses. Dr. Tennille Cargill of Bay Street Medical says when the program was initially introduced, many medical professionals were skeptical. Now, more than a year later, Cargill says he believes the health scheme has surpassed expectations.
It has impacted my business from a numerical standpoint. Obviously, the capitation is 2,000 patients, so I have to provide care for an additional 2,000 individuals. And I see it as a civic duty of mine to not necessarily allow costs to sort of interrupt the ability to provide healthcare to the community. And so that, I think, has been a great trade-off for me from a personal perspective, but also from a professional perspective to be able to assist the government in this initiative. In regards to the second question you asked,
you recommend other healthcare providers? Because a lot of medical stuff is about the money you make, but would you recommend?
Well, the first thing I would tell them is to not be, I guess, intimidated by taking on more persons to spread cost across the spectrum of volume.
His comments were supported by Dr. Elsa Wilson, who is also an NHIA registered primary care provider.
I think it's a wonderful opportunity for patients, for the population to be able to access this service, because NHI is providing office visits for free, they're providing your labs for free, and that's a significant cost if you don't have private insurance and if you have to pay. The volume has increased, but also a lot of my cash patients have converted to being NHI patients, and I think that's a great benefit to them.
NHI Bahamas is being rolled out in phases. Bahamians began registering for the National Health Insurance Program in January of 2016 under the Christie administration. In May 2017, Bahamians began receiving primary care services under NHI Bahamas. NHI Bahamas is a national health insurance program for the Bahamas, and the NHIA has said it aims to ensure that all legal Bahamian residents receive affordable and accessible health care. Well, Bahamians living with Parkinson's disease may have the opportunity to participate in genetic testing. That, according to the president and CEO of the Parkinson's Foundation, John Lear. Lear says genetic testing can be a powerful tool to uncover molecular mechanisms that cause Parkinson's disease, and this understanding can lead to improved treatments and care.
We spend a lot of money on research. One of the initiatives that we're working on right now is a genetics initiative to do genetic testing and counseling for people with Parkinson's, because we believe that ultimately some therapies are going to be developed that are targeted at those mutations. We would like to do that and include people from all over the world, including people from the Bahamas. So one of the things I'm going to talk to Mavis Starling about is, participating in our PD generation, the genetic study that we've just launched within the last year. So those are some of the key program areas that we're working on that also have benefits to people here in the Bahamas.
Lear participated in a roundtable discussion recently with the local Kingdor National Parkinson's Foundation, in which he shared about the foundation's mission-based programs in care, research, and education.
So one of the things that we do is we have a Center of Excellence network, which includes 48 centers of excellence around the world. These are the very best places that are providing care, and we use those to incubate great practices in therapeutics, and we share those worldwide, including here in the Bahamas. We also look to learn from people in the Bahamas about how they care for people here, so that we can use that back in the United States and share that worldwide. So care is a really big part. We are also very involved in research. We do a lot of basic research into Parkinson's, trying to understand the disease at its most basic level.
And aside from research, Blair says educating the populace about Parkinson's and removing the stigma attached to the disease is a high priority.
We work to talk about how it's an environmental and genetic disease. It has nothing to do with, your personality or what you've done in life. It's all about just a disease that afflicts people, without any known reason. People should not be ashamed or embarrassed about Parkinson's. And we believe that if you're diagnosed early and you exercise and do your medications, you can live well with Parkinson's for a number of years. It is a neurodegenerative disease, so it gets worse over time for sure, but there are things you can do. Exercise, most importantly, is the best thing to do, and because this is the Bahamas where it's so beautiful and there's so many different ways to exercise and be active, we really encourage people not to sit at home if you have Parkinson's, but to get out and live life and be active.
Well, amid fear that the novel coronavirus could possibly reach our shores, former Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe says more needs to be done to protect our borders. He spoke with Berthany McDormand.
Former Tourism Minister Obi Wilshcombe is calling on government to beef up protocols at all ports of entry in an effort to prevent the spread of the novel coronavirus to the Bahamas.
I think we have no other choice because we are a tourism industry, and as a tourism industry, you have to understand tourists are coming from everywhere. We also have workers coming from everywhere. We've had Chinese workers and others here, and we should be double checking to ensure because you don't want your country to get into a category where people are going to then avoid your country.
There have been more than 100,000 confirmed cases of the novel coronavirus worldwide, which has killed more than 3,400 people. However, there have been no confirmed or suspected cases of the virus in the Bahamas. With the virus killing more than 100 people in Italy, Iran, and South Korea, those countries were added to government's travel ban. Non-residents coming to the Bahamas who have been in any of those countries in the last 20 days will not be allowed entry into the Bahamas. Residents who have been in any of the countries in the last 20 days will face a 2-week quarantine. Wilshcombe added that while the outbreak caught the world off guard, the Bahamas should look at what other countries are doing to protect their citizens. When asked if he thinks government has been proactive in its approach thus far, Wilshcombe said this.
Observation is, I think we've been a bit laissez-faire. I think we have pretty much expected things to be dealt with at other destinations, particularly the United States. Whatever they do, we'll say we're going to be okay. But we have to protect our borders. We have to always remember that we're responsible for ourselves. So at least we should understand that the fact that we're having thousands and millions of people coming to our shores, it's imperative that we ensure that we are protecting our borders.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Up next, we take a look at training for firefighters. And later on, we count down the most memorable quotes of the week. So stay tuned.
So all you've been doing on this court was traveling. When you see me travel to go watch my free NBA pass game, I can come back harder, smoke it, spicy.
Free NBA pass.
You know what we're doing? Each month they send a lucky customer on an all-expense-paid trip to the States to watch a game. And even if you don't win that, you could have a local experience because they can pay for all your food and drinks and participate in bars, so you still got a good time, bro.
I could get in on that.
All you have to do is sign up for Trio and you enter the drawing. That don't lie.
Don't get denied like this guy. Make sure you come through in the clutch. Sign up for Trio and be a Rev NBA All-Star. Guarantee your chance to win a free trip to an NBA game every month when you sign up for Trio today. Call 601-8992. Terms and conditions apply. Rev, you and us together.
Welcome back to our news, the weekend edition. With nearly 300 fires reported so far this year, firefighters have to be on top of their game. That means always being physically, mentally, and emotionally prepared to fight flames that take lives and cause untold damage. Our Jasmine Brown takes a look at what some of that training entails in this report.
Being a firefighter is no easy task. It takes mental and physical strength to take on the daily dangers.
On a daily basis. So we work with tree guard. We have a tree shift system, 24-hour shift. So every day each guard comes to work. There's 1 hour scheduled for training on each particular day.
To build up that strength, Inspector Damaris Ambrister says they train regularly.
Training is of paramount importance within the fire services. You know, we have to be able to respond effectively and efficiently when the general public calls.
The veteran firefighter showed us several of the places where officers trained for different scenarios, like this metal multi-story staircase that is used to simulate high-rise fires. Then there is the large metal container used to train officers to adjust their body temperature to extreme heat.
We also have our heating chamber here. So our officers would normally use this heating chamber to get their bodies adjusted to the heated temperature. So when they actually experience the fire itself, it becomes like a part of them.
And that's not all firefighters do. They're also trained to use the jaws of life to free accident victims from mangled messes.
You can see here, this is a vehicle that we would have practiced on in the past. So we would come out here and use our tools, make various cuts, so that by the time we get to an actual situation, it becomes second nature. You know, repetition is key. So the more we train, the more we are good and efficient at what we do.
The veteran firefighter says that training, along with the top-of-the-line firefighting equipment, is what firefighters depend on every day to keep them safe. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
We count down the most memorable quotes of the week. That's coming up when our news, the weekend edition, returns.
Hey, but Dubs.
Hey.
Speaking of ideas, though. Ah! Yes, solid idea, but.
Here we go again.
Stop joking, boy.
Murder? That on their passport, son. You better name him murder.
Hey, what did you start? Just gotta be a blessing, boy, because ain't nobody that's stupid to come here to lose their money. Lose their money.
Gina T? On your right nipple, Gina? What the last?
Don't be what this is, though.
Well, Chrissy brothers, we gotta sing to you. Happy birthday from the Chrissy crew. We can buy one down now, and all of us can share it.
I like him. He's funny.
You think that funny? Bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky, bum chicky. It's a birthday, bum chicky. Check. So all you've been doing on this court was traveling. When you see me travel to go watch my free NBA pass game, I can come back harder, smoke it, spicy.
Free NBA pass.
You know what we're doing? Each month they send a lucky customer on an all-expense-paid trip to the States to watch a game. And even if you don't win that, you could have a local experience because they can pay for all your food and drinks and participate in bars, so you still got a good time, bro.
I could get in on that.
All you have to do is sign up for Trio and you enter the drawing. That don't lie.
get denied like this guy, make sure you come through in the clutch. Sign up for Trio and be a Rev NBA All-Star. Guarantee your chance to win a free trip to an NBA game every month when you sign up for Trio today. Call 601-8992. Terms and conditions apply. Rev, you and us together.
Finally tonight, it's that time when we take a look back at the most memorable moments of the week in news in our Quote of the Week segment. A brand new 30-megawatt engine at Bahamas Power and Light's Blue Hills plant was commissioned on Friday. And with the new engine up and running, the company's chairman once again reiterated this promise. His comments come in at number 3.
There will be an end to load shedding.
Taking the second spot is opposition leader Philip Davis, who proposed that government provide women and children with whistles as a part of a plan to help deter crime.
We need to heighten neighborhood patrols, provide women and children with complimentary whistles, provide an online predators list that is updated regularly.
A man being electronically monitored was shot and killed by police in Seabreeze Estates on Tuesday, leaving family and friends on the scene outraged and condemned the officer responsible. Their comments take the top spot for Quote of the Week.
You can't lock me up for this. I know my rights and I ain't saying nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Look at them like through there, boy. Something got to be done. The police them doing. Real talk. That's too mother gotta cry for their children a day. Every minute the police want gun now, and they want people gun now.